Hi, how are ya? Are ya? You always look pretty. Well, our AV today is kind of a tricky deal, so we are going to be using our hymnals, and we're starting with something out of the turquoise hymnal. Where do we come from? It's 1003, if you would join me. Each line is repeated. We're going to sing it through completely 2 times, and then this 3rd time through, we're going to end on the mystery line. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery, mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery.
You know, when I was a kid, my mom did something wonderful. She'd come into the bedroom and wake me up singing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning." And this morning looks just like one of those beautiful mornings we have. Welcome to our church, the Unitarian Universal Church of Spokane. We are so glad to have you with us today. Ours is a welcoming congregation. We appreciate your unique backgrounds, beliefs, and lifestyles. If you're one of our long-term members or have been here a short time, or if you're just joining us today for the very first time, we are delighted to have you with us. Welcome to everyone, and to those who are watching at home. I especially want to welcome our guest speaker today, Scott Winters. I hope some of you enjoyed his workshop with his friend Joyce yesterday, The Way of a Pilgrim Walking the Labyrinth. Yet later, I'll tell you a little more about Scott. Right now, we have a special privilege to hear from Elizabeth Wilhelm, who's making an announcement about religious education.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Wilhelm, and I have been attending this church since I was a toddler. I spent my youth in religious education classes, in the OWL program, and in youth group. And it's easy for me to stand here and say that I would be a vastly different person if it were not for those experiences. I want every family in our community to have the same opportunity that mine had. My mom saw an ad in a local newspaper in Santa Barbara and took the brave step to walk into the doors of the UU church there. When my family moved to Spokane, we found a home in this church. My parents found a place where their daughters could play and learn and grow. And I found a place where I could explore complicated, messy, beautiful ideas with kids who experienced the world in similar and sometimes in importantly different ways. In junior high, through the Neighboring Faiths curriculum, I was able to see the beauty in faith traditions other than my own. Worshiping with Reverend Happy Watkins' congregation and participating in Shabbat service in this room with Temple Beth Havarim are memories I still cherish. The religious education program here taught me how to both hold deep respect and admiration for the world's faith traditions and be comfortable and confident in my own religious identity as a Unitarian Universalist. These experiences led me to the path I'm on today as an interfaith seminary student studying to become a spiritual director at, I learned between services, the same school where Scott attended. I want everyone to find their own unique connection to what is sacred to them. And for our kids, that search begins down the hall in this building. This is how we sustain and grow Unitarian Universalism. The children in this church are the future of our community and of our religious tradition. They deserved the opportunity to have the same kinds of experiences that I had growing up through a robust and lively religious education program. It's not enough to say we want this. We have to show up for it. That's why I hope that you'll join me in being a facilitator for the religious education program this year. I've tried to put it into words this morning, but it really is an indescribably important way to care for our children. And if we can care for our children well, we'll have cared for our community well. If this ministry, this powerful and meaningful ministry, is one that speaks to you, please talk with Ari about signing up to be a religious education facilitator. Thank you.
Now, take a few moments to greet one another and be sure to say hi to somebody that you haven't met yet. Thank you. We'll have more time to greet each other and share our stories during the social hour after the service, which as always includes great coffee and great conversation. We now turn from our informal greeting of one another to formally beginning our service by lighting our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and solidarity, our openness and inclusiveness, the inclusiveness of our community and individual uniqueness. May this small flame be an offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May its flame be one that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost. The opening reflection is from the book The Hour of Land by Terry Tempest Williams. She writes, I believe necessity drives us to improvisation, where improbable and sustains gestures, creates moments of grace that take care of us. We continue to evolve and transform who we are in relationship to where we are. We do not live in isolation from the physical world around us. Nature beckons our response. It is in the doing, the being, the becoming that meaning is made. What becomes sacred is the act itself, not what remains. Something inexplicable is set into motion.
You may have noticed we're going to use our books today. So our next hymn is in our hardback gray hymnal. It's number 298, Wake Now My Senses. And once you find it, I'll invite you to stand as you're willing and able. And this is a beautiful Celtic tune, and we used to sing this one a lot. And this, believe it or not, has 5 verses. The number 4 and number 5 are on the facing page, and we are going to sing them all. Each one of them is very, very meaningful.
I'd like to welcome all children and those young at heart to come on down. I see some of you up there. Way to go, Guy. Yes! You did it. The book that I'm reading today is There Really a Human Race? It's by Jamie Lee Curtis and Laura Cornell. Is there really a human race? Have you guys been in a race? You have. I know you have, yes. Have you been in a race? Yeah, okay. Well, this is a different kind of race. This is the human race. Is there really a human race? Is it going on now all over the place? When did it start? Who said ready, set, go? Did it start on my birthday? I really want to know. Do I warm up and stretch? Do I practice and train? Do I get my own coach? Do I get my own lane? Do I race in the snow? Do I race in a twister? Am I racing my friends? Am I racing my sister? If the race is a relay, is Dad on my team? And his dad, and his dad? You know what I mean. Is the race like a loop and an obstacle course? Am I a jockey or am I the horse? Is there pushing and shoving to get to the lead? If the race is unfair, will I succeed? Do some of us win? Do some of us lose? Is winning or losing something I choose? Why am I racing? What am I winning? Does all of my running keep the world spinning? If I get off the track when I take the wrong turn, do I make my way back from mistakes? Do I learn? Is it a sprint, a dash to the end? Am I aware of the time that I spend? And why do I do it, this zillion-yard dash? If we don't help each other, we're going to crash. Sometimes it's better not to go fast. There are beautiful sights to be seen when you're last. Shouldn't it be that you just try your best? And that's more important than beating the rest. Shouldn't it be, looking back to the end, that you judge your own race by the help that you lend? So take what's inside you and make big, bold choices. And for those who can't speak for themselves, use bold voices. And make friends and love well. Bring art to this place. And make the world better for the whole human race. You're such good listeners. Thank you. Let's sing our children out.
We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the larger world. Each time we gather as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and hearts, and who we want to wrap in our love and care. We kindle a light this morning for the people that have been hit by Hurricane Harvey. Let's share a moment in silence, embracing others who are here in our hearts this morning. You are welcome to say their names aloud if you are willing. Those named aloud and those remembered in the silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world this hour, we hold in our community of compassion. Now, please get comfortable for our meditation. Let us open our minds and hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. It is my honor today to introduce you to our speaker, Scott Winters. He is a former member of this community and has been a member of the First Unitarian Church of Portland for 10 years. Scott works for a Portland nonprofit healthcare agency, House Call Providers, as a hospice spiritual care counselor. He holds a master's degree from Loma Linda University in clinical ministry and earned another master's from Portland State University in social work. He is also a certified spiritual director. He has a passion for studying gerontology and for facilitating activities that encourage expression with older adults who have dementia. Most recently, he has studied with Reverend Dr. Lauren Arstris, to become a trained Labyrinth facilitator. Did you know there was such a thing? Labyrinth facilitator? That training prepares people to introduce others to the labyrinth in an articulate, professional, and effective way. The training addresses both meditative walking and ceremonial use. Scott will give our reading for today.
A reading by Gunilla Norris. Within each of us, there is a silence as vast as a universe. We are afraid of it, and we long for it. When we experience that silence, we remember who we are. Creatures of the stars, created from the cooling of this planet, created from the dust and gas, created from the elements, created from time and space, created from silence. In our present culture, silence is something like an endangered species, an endangered fundamental. The experience of silence is now so rare that we must cultivate it and treasure it. This is especially true for shared silence. Sharing silence is, in fact, a political act. When we stand aside from the usual and perceive the fundamental, change begins to happen. Our lives align with deeper values, and the lives of others are touched and influenced. Silence brings us back to basics, to our senses, to ourselves. It locates us. Without that return, we can go so far away from our true natures that we end up, quite literally, beside ourselves. We live blindly, act thoughtlessly. We endanger the delicate balance which sustains our lives, our communities, and our planet. Each of us makes a difference. Politicians and visionaries will not return us to the sacredness of life. That will be done by ordinary men and women who together or alone can say, remember to breathe, remember to feel, remember to care. Let us do this for our children and ourselves and our children's children. Let us practice for life's sake.
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it, want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. imagination. You can dream any dream. You can savor every situation. Life in there's a sensational sensation. If you want to see magic lands, close your eyes and you will see one. Wanna be a dreamer, be one. Anywhere you please, and please save me one. There is no place to go to compare with your imagination. So go there to be free if you truly wish to be.
Thank you, Deb.
You're welcome. That was a special request.
Did you see it up in the sky this past week? I think you know what I'm talking about. The great American eclipse cast its moon shadow across this nation and captured the attention of millions across the globe. I enjoyed watching television the day of the eclipse and to see the reactions from people who had seen the whole eclipse, the total eclipse. These are some of the responses that I saw. It exceeded their expectations. Some described it as the most beautiful thing they'd ever seen, and that it was personally transformative. But my favorite response was from a 4-year-old girl who described the unfolding convergence of the sun and moon as looking like one emoji being swallowed up by another emoji. Voices of the young are so good at giving us another perspective. Needless to say, it stirred the imagination and gave me hope that folks are deeply interested and curious about the universe, and something that takes us out of our normal routine and into something beyond ourselves. Perhaps it has affected your life in ways that has surprised you as well. I know I was quite surprised by my own emotions. I was really relieved when the sun began to poke back through on the other side of the moon. Whatever the lasting impact, it was truly fascinating to be able to witness something that has been observed by humans for millennia. Well, it's very good to be with you today. I have always enjoyed this congregation and this very special and sacred place. This community holds a special place in my heart, as this is where I was first introduced to Unitarian Universalism in 2002. You have a very welcoming spirit here, and you invite the wandering pilgrim in for a place of growth and community. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be invited to travel from Portland and present a workshop on Labyrinth walking yesterday with my friend Joyce Scotch. You have a beautiful labyrinth here behind your church, adjacent to your memorial garden. And it's made from stones brought here by members of your community. Thanks to Georgette Thornton, your labyrinth caretaker, the energy of your youth group, and volunteers, your labyrinth is now spruced up and ready to be walked. Anytime. It's available for you to use. As you may have read, I'm here today to talk about labyrinths. Now, when I say the word labyrinth, I know folks can immediately create images in their mind of what a labyrinth looks like. So here are some common ideas. Some may think of mazes in a lush, green English garden of wealthy aristocrats. Others may think of the 1980s movie Labyrinth, starring David Bowie. In case you didn't know, there's somebody over here that has seen that movie. Others may be reminded of history and the labyrinths that were found in large medieval cathedrals in Europe. This pattern here is from the Chartres Cathedral in France. This labyrinth is the largest labyrinth ever constructed during the Middle Ages. Pilgrims have traveled to this cathedral and walked this labyrinth since the early 13th century. Or perhaps you think about mythology and the story of the youth Theseus journeying into the underground labyrinths and killing the beast Minotaur. Like witnessing eclipses, labyrinths have been a part of human history for a very long time. They have captured the curiosity of anthropologists, mythologists, historians, and the public alike. Much of the ancient history around the purpose of labyrinths does remain a mystery, but we do have images, artifacts, history, and science which help to point the way. Earlier this year, I attended a seminar and training about labyrinths from Reverend Dr. Lauren Artress at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco. She is an Episcopal priest who has studied for more than 20 years to discover and teach about the significance of labyrinths. She has founded a program called Veriditas to help bring awareness of this ancient tool back into our modern culture. And now there are over 3,500 labyrinth sites in the U.S. alone. Traveling to Grace Cathedral in San Francisco was a bit like a pilgrimage for me. And for those of you who have been there, I think you can probably understand what I'm saying. Flying into the Oakland airport, traveling by train on the BART underneath the bay, going into the city, and walking up that very steep knob hill to be greeted by the majesty of that cathedral. I was hungry, I was tired, and my feet were very sore, but there was something very meaningful about making it to the top of that hill and to my pilgrimage destination. But I knew the inner work that I was doing was not just about the destination, but about my journey to arrive there as well. The journey and the workshop were both life-changing and brought home the importance of sharing the labyrinth, as I feel that we need more tools as to how to live in an uncertain world. Since the election last November, I've been exploring my need for more spiritual relevance through direct experience. These times we live in have been very challenging, to say the least. We are all learning how to digest the daily news about how our political leaders are harming our world. I have felt the need to go deeper into the activities and people that matter most in my life, and that includes my own spiritual journey. When we go through periods like this of change, it can be helpful to return to the books and authors that have brought us insight for the journey. For myself, I've been reading more of Joseph Campbell lately. As you know, he was an American mythologist, writer, and lecturer, best known for his work in comparative mythology and religion, The Power of Myth. Recently, a quote from that book spoke to me, and I'll read it to you. People say that what we're all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think that what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances with our own innermost being and reality, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. We could probably all agree that both meaning and experience are important to us, but finding the time and the energy to create meaningful experiences that make us feel alive, well, can be a little challenging. After all, many of us have to work, keep up our homes, nurture our relationships, and of course, follow our friends and family on Facebook and Instagram, feed the children, and the list goes on and on. For many of us, it seems in order to experience feeling alive, we need to go on vacation, to get away from it all. That perhaps the time away will reconnect us with our true essence, help us to unwind and relax. Now, if I'm seeking an experience of being alive, apart from my normal routine, it makes me wonder, why am I not usually alive? After all, I am still breathing. Throughout the centuries, I suppose folks have asked this same question and sought out ways to experience life in deeper and meaningful ways, particularly to have spiritual experiences. The expressions of spirituality and religion formed in part to bring greater depth of experience into one's life. One such way has been through the spiritual practice of going on a pilgrimage. Traveling the El Camino de Santiago, or the Way of St. James, is just one example. It is a path in Spain that has been walked by pilgrims since the Middle Ages to a shrine of the Apostle St. James, where tradition shares it is where the remains of the saint are buried. Today, folks still take pilgrimages for spiritual insight and growth. They may not always be religious or to another country, but taking time to intentionally break out of our normal routines and experience life at a deeper place still has value. And if each of us here could share, I bet we'd hear countless ways that we have found to create that sense of aliveness. For folks who have a desire to have a spiritual practice, many have found solace in practicing meditation, yoga, qigong, creating art, being out in nature, coming to church, and that's just a few. From my own attempts at trying to have a spiritual practice, I've found there are many helpful forms that provide an experience through the body. Embodying something seems to have given us a way to know and feel it on another level. Even here in community, as we worship and as you volunteer and even dance together, it seems by doing these activities, it helps bond us closer together. I think of how this congregation has a tradition of standing as you're able, holding each other's hands, and singing together at the close of every service. It helps us to embody our experience of community and feel the rapture of being alive, as Joseph Campbell describes it. I think children seem to have much better access to having embodied experiences on a daily basis. My husband's family lives here in Spokane, and for many years I enjoyed the opportunity to play with our young nieces and nephew. I have fond memories of playing newly invented games on playground jungle gyms, or expanding my repertoire of the various forms of tag. Now that they are older, and I am older, playing tag leaves me feeling like I'm going to keel over from pure exhaustion. But those times of play are very memorable, and they're memories I will always cherish. Being that we were all children once, looking back at our experiences of daily play and using our imaginations gives us an insight on how to be embodied. That even though we have matured in age since then, the need for embodied experiences still has the possibility of transforming our familiarity of life. Over the past few years, I have become more interested in providing opportunities for Unitarian Universalists to have spiritual experiences. As our first source of our living tradition reads, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Wow, that's a very powerful statement. Often the statement of having a direct experience that moves me to a renewal of my spirit has, shall we say, been a little challenging, and perhaps for you as well. One of the main reasons I attend church is to find renewal and to reconnect with the space within myself where I feel peace and receive reassurance from my community that we are all in this together. Because of my own need for renewal, I chose to become involved in one of the ways our church in Portland supports experiencing mystery, and that is through the Labyrinth. Participating in this ministry and walking it more consistently has been a way for me to go deeper into my experience of the Sunday service and into a clearer understanding of my life. Now, the Labyrinth isn't for everybody, and I'm not here to channel my conservative evangelical upbringing to convince you that this is your path to salvation or enlightenment. If you'll allow me your time, I'd like to share what I have learned about using the Labyrinth as a form of pilgrimage and as a way to quiet the mind and bring more clarity and peace into one's life. Let's take a look at this pattern again from the Chartres Cathedral in France. Walking the Labyrinth is basically a metaphor for the journey of life. As one enters, like you do here, you just follow the path before you. Unlike a maze, there are no wrong turns and no wrong choices. While walking the path, one is taking a pilgrimage to the center of one's own heart and mind, that sacred place within yourself. It allows you to be present to observe your thoughts and to tap into your intuition. The embodied experience of walking the Labyrinth allows your mind to relax, helps you connect to your imagination, and gives you the potential to discover what may be there, to learn, uncover, and explore. Now, you may be saying, that all sounds pretty cool. Who knew that walking the path behind the church had so much to offer? Well, let me give you a practical example. My own story includes being raised in a conservative Christian religious home. I attended church-based schools all the way from first grade through graduate school. It was during my clinical training to become a chaplain that I decided to leave the safety of my conservative upbringing. It was time to deconstruct my theology and build a life that was more authentic. Talk about a radical shift in the way my ministry was going. My family did not know what to think, and I still think they're recovering from the whole thing. It was very challenging, to say the least, and it created a point of disconnection that I have felt for many years as a Unitarian Universalist. When I started walking the Labyrinth, I found that those feelings and images of my past started coming up for me. As I would make the turns along the path, it felt like the path was a metaphor for my life. I felt angry. I felt hurt and sad. The turns on the path became ways to see myself and my choices, to turn and turn again, to learn to keep walking, and to keep walking. My past was becoming embodied, and I felt the integration with parts of myself that I had disowned. And this was healing for me. I began to see the Labyrinth as a way to learn and accept my life's path in a secure and safe container. Dr. Artress writes, "Within the Labyrinth, your interior world can become clear to you. You can see through the otherwise obscured thoughts and blocked feelings. Time can disappear, and the busy world around you becomes a muffled backdrop. In this world, we can experience emotions, images, and memories within us that we haven't paid attention to before." When I first visited your Labyrinth here in May over Bloomsday weekend, I was taken back because I'd never encountered a triple spiral labyrinth before, and it caused me to want to learn more. So I went home and I did some research, and I have to say your labyrinth here is very special. One of the first examples of the spiral pattern that your labyrinth is made from is found in Newgrange, Ireland. Now, Newgrange is a Stone Age Neolithic monument that was constructed about 5,000 years ago, which makes it older than Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids of Giza. There's no agreement about what the site was used for, but it is believed that it had religious significance as a burial site. Your labyrinth is made from this pattern. All three spirals are connected by one path. It has no beginning, and it has no end. When one walks it, you are always connected to the other spirals. They function to create a flow and a rhythm as one moves in and out of them, from one quadrant to the other. As you enter the labyrinth from any starting point, you are entering this flow. Exiting where you choose allows you to stay inside its borders for as long as you desire. You begin by simply taking one step to enter. The labyrinth pattern's broad archetypal nature reaches beyond any faith tradition, being found in cultures throughout the world for millennia. They've been found, of course, in the cathedrals in Europe. Also, there are Grecian patterns, early Bronze Age patterns, and Native American patterns as well, and that's just a very small sample. The fact that images of these patterns have been found for this long in so many places, that we are connecting with our ancestors in ways rarely accessible in our modern day culture. More than 5,000 labyrinths are now in use in more than 80 countries around the world. They are used in religious communities as a path for prayer and contemplation, as a tool in hospitals to promote healing and to reduce stress, as a way to inspire creativity in corporations like Apple, and even a place for sacred ceremonies like weddings and memorials. There's no wrong way to walk a labyrinth. You can walk it alone or with others. It's important to note that labyrinths are not just for abled folks either, that many labyrinths are accessible and are used by folks who have a disability. I invite you to use yours as a way that you need to, without expectation from yourself or others. And if all of this sounds just a little inaccessible or esoteric to you, I would simply invite you just to walk it as a peaceful meditation. There is a peace pole right next to it that can help guide your way. And if after you walk it you don't feel drawn to it, take what you can and leave the rest. As Dr. Artress has said, labyrinth walking supports flow, not force. Cooperation, not competition. The symbolic takes precedence over the literal and offers a vision of how people can walk together and live together in harmony. The labyrinth teaches us that if we keep putting one foot in front of the other, we can quiet our mind and find our center. The journey may be difficult, and the lesson is to trust the path. Whether it be through viewing eclipses, doing yoga and meditation, singing, or walking the labyrinth, as Unitarian Universalists, we need direct experience to renew our spirits so that we have the stamina and the courage to work for our values of protecting the environment, defending the rights of the marginalized, and creating a peaceful world for everyone. May your labyrinth be a source of strength and renewal for this congregation. It's a sacred path which can stir hearts and the imagination to help guide us as we journey together as a beloved community. May it be so. Amen.
Please join me in singing our final hymn. It's number 295 in your gray hymnal. Sing out praises for the journey. Rise as you're willing and able. Like our forebears in their time,
The benediction is from the words of Richard Jefferies. How pleasant it would be each day to think, today I have done something that will render future generations more happy. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.